And so I just decided to stop in at PetSmart, let my phone charge for a little bit, and pick up a few things. And I don't know why, I'm not sure what came over me, but an employee came up to ask me if I needed any help. And it just came right to me right then and there. I wasn't thinking about it, but I just asked out of curiosity if they had any hamsters in the back. And I really obviously expected her to look at me and say no or give me that crazy look. And she went, actually, we do have one. And I was stunned. I was not expecting that. So we had to work it out, and I had asked the lady if there was any way I could just adopt her and come pick her up tomorrow. Like, is there a way that could happen? Like, because I went to work and it was so hard. But I got off at 6 that night and go to PetSmart, and here I'm just thinking, like, I'm gonna walk in. At first you just have the fear that she's somehow not there anymore, but I'm just gonna walk in there and be like, hey employee, like, you know, I adopted a ham. They're gonna think like I'm crazy, like, sure lady, like, that there's just a hamster in the back and that she's mine, like, yeah, like, yeah. And a guy came up to me, and so my mom and I told him, like, you know, I had my adoption paper obviously with me that said, you know, that I adopted him. And so, you know, I explained that to the guy, and the guy just kind of gave me this look. I mean, he was a very sarcastic guy, really, I mean, nice guy. And he's like, okay, yeah. And if you've been keeping up so far, you will know that I adopted 2 hamsters, and I was only coming to PetSmart to pick up 1 hamster because they only had 1 hamster. Granted, I wanted a pair, but they only had 1, and I'm going to be fine and happy with that. So just mind you, if you hadn't been paying attention, that was occurring. So anyways, as we're walking to the back, now this guy starts talking about hamsters getting along together and making sure that there's no fights, and having adequate space if they fight, you know, or to split them up. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? Like, why would my hamster fight? There's nobody to fight with, what? So I just looked over and I gave him this look, like, and I was like, I'm not gonna put her with another hamster. I legitimately thought that, like, he thought I was pairing her at home with, like, I was gonna come home and put her with another hamster I had or something. I'm not sure why he thought this, but I'm like, why would I do that? That's horrible. And I told the guy that, and he's like, oh, you're only having 1. And I was like, yeah, like, what? And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I thought you were taking both. And I was like, huh? And about that time we are back there now in her cage, and adorable little Perry is just running around and is playing on her stupid horrible grid wheel, but so cute. And and I was like, what are you talking about? There's only 1. And I pointed at it, I was like, it's just Perry. And he's like, no, there's 2. And I was like, I don't think so. Like, the lady only said there's 1. Like, why would there be 2 back here? And so I was like, oh, and he's like, no, I'm pretty sure there's 2. And I was like, okay, well, if there's 2, I'll take both. And he's like, oh, you would want both? And I was like, well, yeah. And so, well, crazy enough, he reaches his hand in there, and he's like, I'm pretty sure. And he picks up the igloo, and lo and behold, these cute little ears perk up, and inside this, like, little mountain of bedding, and there is little Tinkerbell, so dazed and confused, and has no clue what's going on, why somebody just pulled her house out from over her. And oh my gosh, guys, I just one look at her, like, oh, she's so beautiful. And I was just like, is this like real life right now? Like, I just, like, this whole experience has been insane. Like, and now there's a pair, which truly in my heart of hearts I wanted, and here there is. And I am not sure how this happened, but there is, like. And so I was like, yeah, I definitely want both. And he's like, okay. But I did have my new little ones, and like, I was doing like a happy dance, honestly. Like, it was just insane how this was just all working out. Like, I'm so happy. And so now I can take them home, and on the way home they were just so cute. They were playing in their little elbow, just exploring and trying to figure out what was going on, and I could stick my finger in there and they seemed to be okay with it, like, no big deal. And I had, thank gosh, I had a zippy bag of treats, and I had brought extras with me. I don't know why, because I was only adopting 1, but I had extras, so thank goodness that worked out. So now I really have to get their cage together, because obviously I now have 2. I mean, I guess in a way it was really great that I did set up her cage, because I'd have to completely have redone it to set it up for a pair. So they had to say have to They did have to stay in their oval for a little bit of time, and honestly that didn't seem to really bother them so much. I think that gave them a time to kind of be with each other and understand like a lot of things were happening. So honestly, I don't think it was too bad that they actually stayed in their oval for a little bit of time. I don't think it was too horrible for them. And honestly, like, I was working on their cage, but my mom and I kept just like my mom would come in and watch them, and I'd stop and come watch them because they were just so cute. Like, it's so hard not to. And it was so crazy to see the difference in sizes and colors. I mean, I got so lucky. I will never confuse the two between each other, to be honest. It was just the difference in sizes. Tinkerbell was so very tiny. It's like, and Perry is, she knows where her food dish is. She was definitely on the larger side, and so it made me wonder if Perry kind of just hogs all the food and Tinkerbell doesn't really get to eat much, or if she just seems to sleep a lot and not really like care about the food dish. But I will say now, after having them 3 weeks, they both have equal weight. Tinkerbell definitely knows where her food dish is too. And I knew that if I was gonna, you know, the next set of hamster I did really kind of want a pair, so it was kind of really crazy that this was happening. But I definitely had hesitance about pairs. Fighting obviously is a huge fear of mine, that they're not going to get along. Like, I see so many people have, you know, awesome stories of getting pairs along, and then I hear how they get along for months and then don't. And I know from experience with Emma and Belle, they came home as a pair and they lived together for like about 3 months, and they had a few squabbles along the way, but then about that 3-month period of time they did have a big one, and Emma got hurt, and it was just very kind of clear at that point that they had to be separated. Once there is bloodshed, you kind of do just have to separate the hamsters. So that kind of happened, and it was just really sad because they seemed to be so close for those 3 months. So there's that little part of me that's very fearful of that. I will say though, at the time we really didn't know much about housing pairs and we're new to it, and so they both were in a 20-gallon, which is not adequate space for 2 pairs to be living in. So I think that did have a lot to do with it, but honestly their fights didn't seem to be about space as much as it just everything seemed to bug them. So who knows if it was space that really was bugging them, who knows. So yeah, I'm a little hesitant going into having a pair, even though I have a plenty big enough cage. I'm a little fearful if fights erupt, but I do have a spare tank, and if that happens, you just kind of accommodate. But you know, that's what's cute about having a pair, is wanting to see them together in cuteness, so that's hard. I also have fears about how, I have fears that when one passes away, that that's going to be really hard on the other hamster. Legitimately, one of my biggest fears is that I will have a male and a female, and you know, that's going to be a problem. Or that I'm going to bring her home and find that one of them is pregnant, which, no lie, I really kept an eye on Periwinkle those first few weeks, because like that kind of freaked me out. She was definitely very round, and I don't know, since obviously there was already an issue with gender and that's why they got split up, it makes me a little worried. And I'm kind of worried that like they might actually be males and not females. There's just a lot of worries that go with having a pair, but that's the decision I'm very happy with. I mean, obviously when I went in that night to adopt her, I wasn't expecting a pair because they only told me one. But as I said, I kind of wanted a pair, so that really made no difference to me. I wasn't just adopting the other one because I didn't want to leave the other one out, like, so that's not why. So, but yeah, I got their cage ready and put them in, and I will put footage in here of them checking out their cage for the first time and just letting them settle in. I will say it's been an adjustment for me. The only other hamsters I had that weren't Robos was Minnie, and so to adopt these, and these girls were marked as Russian Campbells, but I will definitely say there's a winter white hybrid, and I'm just given Periwinkle's coloring and markings. I'm most willing to bet that there's a lot of winter white in probably both of them, obviously. But I mean, obviously, nowadays they're always hybrids anyway, so I guess that's what it is. But I will say the adjustment has been definitely strange. When I got Minnie and I brought her home, I mean, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that even though I had a hard time with the way Minnie, you know, came up with being raised by basically a kid and all of that, and the situation they were living in, I do think that did help Minnie in a sense because she was handled every day, and so Minnie didn't seem to have any problem kind of adjusting right into our home and us and everything. I mean, that first day, you know, she was very startled and like, who are you or whatever, but honestly, she was always very willing to come up and check you out and was not startled whatsoever at all. She was always very curious, and with she did nibble on you if you put your hand in the cage and tried to pick her up or whatever, but that was expected. But honestly, she was just very outgoing and stuff like that, so I never really had to tame a Minnie in a sense. And these girls are definitely 100% different. I think that maybe has a lot to do, I mean, obviously they didn't come from a different home. The lady said that their genders were split up. So I would be to assume that the only other home they had was their mass breeder, who could care less about them, I'm sure. Which is obviously why we don't like pet stores, is the fact that they mass breed them. So my assumption would be that their way they are acting is because they didn't get handled and love and attention as babies, and then to be thrown in this cage and then thrown in a different cage, it was probably a lot for them to go through, and they don't seem to really be okay with people. I mean, I definitely will say, like, it's so hard. Sometimes I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think Stitch was this hard to tame, to be honest. But hopefully, you know, they will come around, and as long as they are happy, I'm happy, and just making sure they don't feel stressed is my main point, you know, to make sure. But like, yeah, even though it's been 3 weeks, they definitely are a whole lot more startled, or they still are a whole lot, you know, skittish per se. They don't really kind of go through the middle of the cage. They have to go around everything in the back to get where they want to go for the most part. And you know, there are sometimes that they come out and I'm there, or I come up to the cage and they're totally okay with it. They're like, they go about their business. Sometimes I can stick my hand in and they will run up to it. And there are other times just this total sight of seeing me in the bedroom freaks them out, and they will go run back into their hideout. If I stick my hand in their cage, they're not going to have anything to do with that. So I mean, it just kind of depends. It seems to be like a flip of a coin sometimes on how that goes. But Periwinkle definitely is the more outgoing one out of the two. She is more likely to get up throughout the day, maybe like a few times to come get a drink, and she seems to be more okay if I'm walking by or if I stick my hand in the cage. She's a whole lot more welcoming into it than Tinkerbell is. Tinkerbell definitely is extremely more skittish and a whole lot kind of set back. She kind of just likes to sleep. They both do. It's insane to me how much they sleep. I was definitely worried the first few weeks that something was wrong, because they just sleep an insane amount. But it also comes back to me being used to Minnie, who was just up so much throughout the day, as well as Stitch. Stitch is, you know, typically awake. He comes, you know, even if he's not out, like I can hear him, or he comes out and gets a drink or eats for like a couple times, you know, during the day. These girls are like gone, like poof. Like when they're asleep somewhere in the cage, you will not find them. They know how to hide. I will say that. But you know, it's all like, you know, they do come out at night. Those first few nights it was hard. Like I feel like my schedule got completely mixed up, because I would stay up till 3 a.m. till they came out and then just sit on my bed and watch them, because that was the only way I got to see them, like at all, like during the day. It was not unusual if never once during the day did I see or hear from them. And then every once in a while Perry would come out and get a sip of water and then right back to bed. Or you would hear her nibbling on a piece of food, and that was that. So, but they definitely are, you know, I can say now that it's been 3 weeks, I see them up a little more often through the day, like maybe twice a day do they come out and get a sip of water and stuff. Typically maybe a little more in the evening, and then at night they come out. But I have to, you know, for work and stuff, I can't obviously stay up till 3 a.m. so I don't really get to watch them play, which is extremely hard on me, because that's just the cute part, to watch them play and stuff. But you know, I'm just giving them their space, you know. Obviously they're not ready for humans, and it's just a very startling thing for them. I will say though, they got to come out in the playpen, so I could do the video shoot for them, and I was just so apprehensive about taking them out in the playpen. I had planned, that's why Perry was in the shot, because I decided to just use one of them, because I really thought Tinkerbell was more skittish and I didn't want to startle her more by bringing out her in a playpen if she wasn't already ready, even though I already had them almost 2 weeks at that point in time. And so I took Perry out, and Tinkerbell actually wanted to come with her. And she was in the same box, but then, you know, Tinkerbell came out and went along her way, so I did the shoot with Perry. And then Tinkerbell seemed to kind of be wondering what was going on, so she willingly wanted to come out of her cage, and she went in the playpen. And both the girls, I have to say, did so well with the playpen. I was just so afraid that it was just going to be too much for them. But they really seemed to like running around it and checking things out, and never once seemed startled by it. I mean, you can kind of tell when your hamster is panicking and running around because they don't know what's going on, and when they're running around because they're curious and seeing what's going on. And they seem to be a-okay with it. They kind of liked being out in the open. I mean, I could put my hand in there, and they were totally okay with walking in my hand and trying to climb up my arm and just checking out my hand. It was like a total different experience for me. It was like in the cage they don't want anything to do with people, but out in the playpen they seem to be like totally okay, which makes me feel better about how taming will go if I just bring them out in the cage. That will definitely help. But I got sick, and so I didn't obviously want to be handling them, so they hadn't been out in their playpen. Matter of fact, today I'm going to bring them out in their playpen again and see. Hopefully that goes really well for them. I'm very excited. It goes well for us. So that happens. But I will say though, my memory card filled up and I had to go upload it. Well, while I was uploading my memory card, I went ahead and put them back in their OVO, the unit they came home in. That way they were safe inside there while I was on my computer uploading. And I was keeping an eye on them, and they hated being in that OVO. It was horrible on them. They hated it. They were just running around and freaking out and trying to figure out how to get out. They had definitely been spoiled by this big home that they live in now, and that was just a freakish for them to be in such a small thing again. But once I took them out and put them back in the playpen, they were 100% fine again. So definitely the playpen was just a fine thing for them. But I will say, like, some things I have to get used to having, like, them still being very new still to this environment is they don't, like, change whatsoever. I've decided after having them 2 weeks, I really did try to clean up their cage, and they have a little mug in the corner and they like to go in there and eat and pee. And so I just wanted to go take it and clean it, and I took it out and they came out while I was cleaning it and just completely freaked out at where the heck it went. Like, you could just tell they were just definitely freaking out over that. Like, they noticed it was gone immediately. The fact that they came out while I was cleaning it was crazy enough as it is. But I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but it was. So I definitely am a little worried about cleaning their cage, and I don't want to stress them out by that. But I don't know, I think they're slowly kind of coming around, and I'm excited to hopefully them come around. But I will love them no matter what, even if they don't want to be really messed with or anything like that, long as they know they're loved. I'm in such a happy place right now, guys. Like, I feel like my heart is just so happy right now. Like, when I see them out or if I hear them, it's such a different place I'm in, and it's so kind of nice to have that love again in the home. Like, it just had been really kind of lonesome for the last few months. Even though I have Stitch and I'm completely happy with him, it's just like, this is like, it just fills it more, if that makes sense in a sense. So I'm very happy. And they're getting along so well so far. I mean, not to knock on wood or anything, but not to jinx it or anything, but so far they really are getting along. As far as having two of everything, the biggest thing that comes down to a problem when you have dwarfs is the wheel. It always is. It's what starts fights. You can have two wheels, and you should have two wheels, but they will most always want the same wheel. But you need to have two to make sure that they do have the option of having separate ones. And they love the red wheel. That is their favorite wheel. And I will say the first 2 days, it just seemed funny that they both, like, one took one side of the cage, one took the other, there was no things, and then all of a sudden, like, the third day came around and they both wanted the red wheel, and they only ever want the red wheel. And so it's so funny to watch them. They share so adorable. Like, guys, it's the cutest thing. I've never filmed it because it's nighttime and I don't have a light on, so there's really no way to film it. But Periwinkle will be running on the red wheel, no big deal, and Tinkerbell now wants it. And she will run up to it and kind of, like, if it's moving, you know, she knows not to kind of jump in. It doesn't stop her from trying, but then she realizes it's moving. She will sit there for a second and realize that somebody else is on it. It's, you know, she has to wait her turn. And she does a lap around her cage in this specific pattern, and then comes back to the front of it like, is it my turn yet? And nope, okay, and then does another lap, comes back around, and then 2 or 3 times Perry knows it's her turn, you know, so Perry gets off, Tinkerbell jumps on, Perry does a lap around the cage, comes back, and it's the cutest thing, guys. It's just like, oh, is it my turn now? Like, is it my turn yet? Like, oh great, it's my turn. There's never a fight about it. Like, sometimes they both will get on the same wheel and you'll hear it make the noise when it's basically, you know, not going anywhere. And then you'll see one of them get off. There's never like a squeak about it. It's just like, it's my turn, give me a second. Like, and every once in a while one of them will go get on the green wheel for like a second, and they kind of like stop and give each other the look like, can I go get on that wheel now? Like, 'cause they definitely like the red one more, and it's the cutest thing, guys. It makes me so happy just to see them like sharing and getting along. I mean, I do hear squeaks from them, and it always worries me a little bit, but I keep an eye on it. And it's typically what I can always see the little squeaks are. It's not like aggressive squeaks, it's just kind of like letting you know kind of squeak. And most always they are laying together. I can see them in the hideout or in the bedding together. And I'm willing to take an assumption that it's they want space now, like get your foot off my head, or whatever it might be. I did see one time one of the girls, I think it was Perry, ran in to Tinkerbell's house and started bathing her head, and Tinkerbell let out like a little squeak, and it must have been that she just didn't want to be groomed, she didn't want to be messed with, and just like that, Tinkerbell kind of went on her way. Or Periwinkle went on her way. So, I mean, these little squeaks definitely don't seem to be like an aggressive, like, fighting kind of squeak. I do know the night that I brought them home when they were in the OVO, there were a few incidents where one would be like rolled over and the other one would be like grooming her and stuff like that, and you'd hear little squeaks, and they were just like sibling kind of squabbles. It doesn't seem to be an aggressive thing. So long as it stays like that, I'm okay. But obviously I keep an eye on to make sure that there's not like an aggressive argument going on between the little sisters. So yeah, Oh, and then as far as names go, that was a very hard decision for me. Obviously, I hadn't really come up with a name before I went to adopt Perry. Good thing, because that didn't work out. Obviously, I needed to come up with, names. But since there was a pair, I really kind of, and I did put a little bit of thought into it, in October when I thought I was going to get that pair. But I just knew that if I wanted to do a pair, I kind of, obviously I stick with my Disney theme, you guys all know that. But if I was going to get sisters, I kind of wanted them to have sisterly Disney names. So, especially when I got these girls, and it was the hardest decision to make, like, it took me, like, almost all day to completely be confirmed with this decision. The first thing that popped in my head when I got these girls and I was thinking about naming them was Tinkerbell and Periwinkle, like, the very first thing. Just because that's the sisters I think of, and, like, that just popped in my head, and, obviously, as I said, I'd given a thought to these names before in October, so it's not like I, was completely out of the clear blue. But, like, I don't know, but I just was like, that was the names, and so I went through all the Disney sister names, and that's the one that just kind of stuck. My sister was trying to help me, like, it was the hardest, like, you name these, are these going to be their names, which is so weird because with Stitch and Minnie, like, that was their names, like, it was never, like, a consideration, that was just that. But I just didn't know, it was Tinkerbell and Periwinkle going to be, like, the perfect match for them. And I kept going back to it, I thought Periwinkle was just absolutely perfect for Periwinkle because the character of Periwinkle has silver hair and it just kind of just seemed to fit perfectly. And I did go through some other sets of names like Lonnie and Lilo, which was hard because in a sense it kind of would just go through, it would just match perfectly with having Stitch and that being like my favorite Disney movie. And I thought Lonnie, I thought, actual Tinkerbell kind of had perfect coloring for that kind of beachy kind of theme. It was a very hard decision. I obviously did look at Anna and Elsa, like, let's be real, of course I looked at it. And I adore Frozen, and it honestly would have been perfect, like, my sister even talked about it with me, like, it would have just been so perfect, like, Periwinkle looks like perfect, Elsa, and all of that, but I love the movie, and I just thought that would have been perfect, but just wasn't sure if that was just what it just didn't seem to fit and be, like, meant to be. So, I don't know, Tinkerbell and Periwinkle just kind of fit. And obviously they're great nicknames. I call Tinkerbell Tink and I call Periwinkle Perry, especially because you don't really say Periwinkle like that often. So that was actually what I had looked at was the downside of it. Was basically her name was going to be Perry more than anything else, which was one of the cons I had looked at when I had named them. But I don't know, I like it and it seems to fit them perfectly, so that is their names. So, and it's really easy to tell the difference just because Periwinkle has silver hair, Perry is silver, and then Tinkerbell is just Tinkerbell. And she's smaller, so it's kind of cute too, even though they're both pixies. But I don't know, I just like, I love Disney and I love fairies and I love Tinkerbell, so it was just a complete fit for me and I'm completely happy with their names. So yeah. I'm not really sure what else there's to fill you in on, guys. This video is extremely long, obviously. Sorry about that. But it was just a very crazy story that they had, and I didn't want to leave any aspects of that out. It's very insane to me. I just feel very lucky, and it just feels like it was meant to be, like, as I said, like, when something's meant to be, it's just gonna happen, and, like, it just did. It happened. It fell into my lap, per se. And I don't know, I'm so happy. I'm so excited to be back filming videos, not because I have new hamsters, but just because school is over, which I'm super, super excited for, and also, my job is just kind of slow right now, so I can kind of get back into filming. And then having these girls just makes it all the better. So yeah, it was kind of, even when I did feel like filming afterwards without Minnie, it just kind of, like, I didn't have a muse to work with, which is really hard. And obviously, I have Stitch, and I love him dearly, but I don't really take him out and film with him a lot because that's stressful for him. On top of, he's a little older now, and so he just kind of wants to sleep and rest a lot, and that is what's more important. So I will say that now I have these new girls, I'm very excited to start working on videos again and have new muses per se, and I have so many ideas and I'm so excited to be back filming videos soon. Definitely look forward to those in the new year. I don't know how many will really be up before the end of the year, but yeah, look forward to all of those. Let me know if you want to see a cage tour for them. You could kind of pretty much see it all in the clips that you guys just saw of them, so I'm not really sure if there's a point in filming a cage tour, but if you guys want to see one, I will film one for you guys. And that's pretty much it. Like, I hope you guys are as excited as I am, and excited to see the channel grow. I need to start working on channel art and everything now that it's out in the open, and I'm so excited. So yeah, welcome to the family, Tinkerbell and Periwinkle. And I hope you guys are excited to see their journey as I am. So I'm gonna go, like, I'm full of excitement now, and I'm just so excited that it's out in the open now. and you guys got to see it, and I'm so excited. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and sticking through that whole long video. I love you guys so very much, and we will see you in the next video. Bye! Well, crazy enough, he reaches his hand in there, and he's like, I'm pretty sure, and he picks up the igloo, and lo and behold, these cute little ears perk up, and inside this little mound of bedding, and there is little Tinkerbell, so dazed and confused, and has no clue what's going on, why somebody just pulled her house out from over her.